85% divorce rate, 35% paternity fraud rate. Yeah, I mean, these are the numbers. And then, like I said, they're verifiable in different sources. But that doesn't mean, just like everything else, marriage and having kids is a risk. But let's not act like there aren't things you can't. Let's not act like there are things that there are always things that you can do to mitigate risk. Welcome back to Money, Marriage, and Media. I am Mike, your host, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. You guys see the video that's on the screen, right? These are the relationships that benefit women. I just dropped that video, but the reason why we're looking at it is because a guy made an interesting comment, and he has some valid points, so I wanted to address those. So for reference sake, go check out this video, right? And then let's go ahead and go down to the comments and see what he's talking about. Let's see. Here we go, right here. Now, his name is Peter, and the first thing he says is marriage does not benefit none. I highly suggest men don't get married. Now, you come to a pro-marriage channel to say that. That's fine. You know, everyone has their opinions, but my response is that because it's to anybody, because this is a popular talking point. So my response is to anyone that makes that comment, interesting. So what do you say to the data out there that found the best structure to raise kids to become productive members of society is a two-parent household bonded by marriage? Now, there's multiple sources on this data. That's why I didn't list one, because it has been confirmed. So that makes it a fact because it's confirmed by multiple sources. Now, my question is, what do you say to that? Because again, if men, the majority of men are concerned about their legacy, well, then what do you say about that? Because if you're not getting married, then what are your kids doing? What are you saying about your kids? That you're putting them in a less productive role. You put him in a less productive position right off the bat. Well, we're going to go over his response because, like I said, he has an interesting argument and we should take note of it. If you find someone that is willing to put in the work in a marriage, my blessing, but today's generation is out for what they can get. 85% divorce rates are initiated by women and 35% of paternity. Turns out he's not the father, but two parents raising a kid. The kid has a better chance. If the father raises the kid, he still has the same chances. So two parents, the kid stands chance, where just I'm guessing I'm not sure what he's saying. He said the kid stands a chance. We're just the dad. The kid stands a chance. So what do you think? I think, okay, let's go back to the beginning here. Okay. So everybody wants to throw out this caveat. If you can find somebody, right? They're saying it works if you can find somebody. Okay, so then why is the argument not focused on finding the right person then, instead of just saying that marriage doesn't benefit anybody? Because see, right there, that's a contradiction, right? Marriage. So what Peter is really saying, and I'm assuming it's a guy, but what he's really saying is that, okay, well, yeah, marriage does work if you find the right person. Okay, but yeah, you only got to get it right once. So why is it that we spend so much time trying to debunk marriage when we know the data says that, yes, marriage is, if you're interested in legacy, the best environment you can put your kids into is a functioning marriage? Why do we instantly go and say that, well, marriage doesn't work? See how those two statements contradict each other? You can't tell me if you're not in marriage, if you're against marriage and you don't want to have kids, I get it. If I didn't want kids, then yeah, that's marriage would not be a high priority for me. But I do want kids. I do have kids. And my wife and I are raising our kids to be productive members of society. That's the goal. So if you don't want marriage, that's fine. Don't have any kids. But that's not what's happening right now. It's not. Too many kids are born out of wedlock in our community. Now, if you say you're against being a stepfather, then that means that you should be pro-marriage, because otherwise all you're doing is creating baby mamas out here, unless you're just going to be celibate. I'm still waiting on a man to actually admit to that, but So let's keep going here, right? 85% of divorces are initiated by women. This is an ongoing stat that keeps getting repeated. What I find interesting is that very few people actually don't like deep dive into it. Because again, I've done the work and I've recorded those videos. They're up and posted right now. But the top 3 reasons for divorce, in other words, the top 3 reasons why the vast majority of women are initiating divorce, they are in this order. Lack of commitment, number 1. Infidelity is number 2. And number 3 is lack of communication. Number 4 is finances, right? But again, those have been verified through multiple sources. Most of those sources are going to be family law practices. So at this point, it becomes a fact that those are the top 3 reasons for divorce. Now, let's break that down. Most women, I've already said this before, most women, the one thing they will not tolerate is cheating. I get it. The whole high value conversation comes up. Well, she'll tolerate you. She will be willing to share you if you're high value enough. Then why all these women got a point of contention with cheating when it's brought up? The talking point is if you got a high value man, you're going to have to share him. The majority of women don't agree with that. So we already know infidelity. Okay, that's out, right? Don't cheat, right? The first and the third reasons, right? Lack of commitment and lack of communication. Those two go hand in hand because, and the men I'm gonna have to blame the men here because what's happening is that number 1, men are gonna take the blame because men lead and women follow. That's what it is, right? You want to be leader, and that means you go down with the ship. It is your fault, right? But if we're not being upfront with how we see the relationship working before we get married, before we propose, before we say I do, before we are living together, guess what you're going to have? You're going to have a lack of communication. You're also going to have a lack of commitment because if the two of you have different expectations, there it is. You look at marriage one way, and if you're the leader, then it's supposed to work that way. But if you haven't communicated that in the beginning before the marriage, and you have the woman just out here just living the Disney fairy tale, this is the results that you get: 85% divorce rate, because you're not living up to the Disney standard that she had in her head. But it's your responsibility as the man to actually break that down before. Because then you have you're going to give her some power because she has to accept that this is what it's going to be. If she can't accept that, then you need to move on anyway, right? It's funny, we talk about paternity fraud in our community, right? Stop hanging out with hoes. You're hanging out with promiscuous women. That's what happens. She's having sex with multiple dudes, right? Usually within the same about less than 2-week period, she's having sex with multiple guys. Stop messing with hoes. Stop doing that. Stop giving them the time of day. Move on and find you somebody who's looking for marriage. I guarantee you that 35% rate that number goes down considerably when you stop messing with 304s, right? So the only thing left here is to talk about is this issue of the single dads producing the same rates as married people, and again, those are verified. That's a verifiable fact. They do produce the same outcome. However, if you've been watching my channel, you know that that one of the things I talk about, one of the reasons for marriage is because we still need each other. The average man does not make enough to make it through retirement. We don't make enough to make it through the end of life. The average woman definitely doesn't, because she makes more than the average man, right? So the average man in this country makes less than $40,000 a year. It's usually about 35 to 40. And I get it. There's a lot of you out there that are using the national average, saying the average is 50K. I'm encourage you. I've said this multiple times. I think you need to go and look at the average income for your state, because most states it's less than that, and the big chunk of the states it's less than 40. So I don't buy into that. So what are we saying here? That you stand a better chance when there is a 2-income family, but just for survival through retirement. You stand a better chance of raising your kids when those two people are bonded by marriage. I mean, it just gets easier because one of the things statistically, I said that, single dads produce the same results. But the part of that we don't talk about is what happens to that dad when the kids move out the house, because the vast majority of his resources have gone to raising those kids, which means that, and I'm telling you, I used to be, I have a former career in financial services as a licensed agent, right? I can't tell you how many times I sit down with single parents, and the bulk of their resources are going towards raising the kids. Rightfully so, because the kids come first, right? But when we do the projections for these families, and they're not going to have anything left after those kids are gone, they're going to be working to the day they die. There's no such thing as retirement for them. So yeah, I get it. I mean, it's some sad stories out there, because if you're a widow, I get it. But that's at some point we got to start talking about life insurance. An uncomfortable conversation, but I think I'm gonna have to make a video about it because it's too important for us to just we don't really think about stuff like that because we don't want it to happen. It's a bad conversation. But look, guys, I just wanted to get on here, jump on here, because like I said, Peter Hanez, I'm not sure how you pronounce his name. I'm just going to say Peter. He raised some valid points that are the YouTube talking points, right? 85% divorce rate, 35% paternity fraud rate. Yeah, I mean, these are the numbers. And like I said, they're verifiable in different sources. But that doesn't mean, just like everything else, marriage and having kids is a risk. But let's not act like there aren't things you can't. Let's not act like there are things that there are always things that you can do to mitigate risk, instead of just saying that, well, no, this doesn't work. Okay, well, what things are you having, or are we talking about here that can actually lower the risk, particularly the divorce rate? Because again, we already know the top 3 reasons. Well, if you're not cheating, that number comes down considerably. Because again, it's one of the top. It's number 2. The number 2 reason for divorce is infidelity. Stop cheating. Yeah. And I get it. Most problems come from cheating. They stem from something else, but you got to work those problems out. Stop being scared to go to couples counseling and work through those issues, especially if you're having problems with communication, which most people are, right? But look, this is great conversation. Peter, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tag Peter in this, so hopefully we can get a response. I'd love to keep the conversation going. Like I said, this is the definition of high-level conversations, and we need to have more of these so that we can stop fighting the gender war. Because at the end of the day, it's still dumb. I'm going to say goes to the next time. Peace. Thanks for making it to the end of this video. But do me another favor. Like and subscribe. But also check out these here. Either subscribe or watch videos. One or the other. I don't know which side. But hey, all right.